Yeah, I mean, this might be a terrible cliche, but I think it holds a lot of truth. That first step is often the hardest because, like, there's a certain level of bravery involved in I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone and I'm going to own my own space. I'm going to take this opportunity. It could be something as simple as sending an email to your boss or picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I want to be considered for this opportunity." But those split second decisions of I'm just going to be brave in this 1 second and put myself out there. That's what makes the difference between putting yourself on that path or not putting yourself on that path.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a Take the Doughnut interview with Cara Beaumont, who is the National Sales Training Director at Cintas Corporation. Welcome, Cara.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's so good to talk with you. And before we get into anything more serious, I have to ask you, what's your favorite donut?
So I thought about this, and I love a maple donut, which I feel like is not everyone's go-to. But where I grew up, we had like a local grocery store with a bakery, and it just takes me back to childhood. So that's my donut of choice. I like the maple icing. So
What I love about this question so much is that very often it seems to bring back childhood memories for
yeah,
people. And
yeah.
I don't know if I anticipated that before I started doing this, but that's been so lovely to see people connect this particular food to an earlier time in their lives.
Yeah.
So I said a little bit about you up front, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with my kind of career Cintas related things, and then I'll share some more kind of personal things. But I've been at Cintas for 11 years for my entire career, either in sales or marketing type of roles. And I'm really passionate about helping develop our employees and realize their full potential. And I've just really enjoyed everything I've done at Cintas. It's 11 years that has absolutely flown by. But outside of work, I have a family. I have an almost 2 year old. And then we actually have another baby on the way due in May of next year. So our family's growing, which is really exciting. And my husband and I and our family and our friends, we love to travel. We love national parks actually. So we would love to see all 63 national parks. We've been to 11 so far. Just a great excuse to get outdoors and see some cool things. And we've really enjoyed doing that for the past several years.
Oh my goodness, I love how you mixed everything all in there, including donuts you want to take and what's already happening, and congratulations on your growing
Thank you.
family. This is amazing. For those who are wondering why donuts keep coming up today, let me reset this for you so that you have a sense of the theme. So take the donut for me is another way to say carpe diem. And it comes from this weird thing that happened in college where I left an actual donut on a table, and that became an object lesson, what it looks like to leave an opportunity behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut. I'll link a video here for those who haven't seen that origin story before. But basically, this conversation is all about going after opportunities, going after goals. And what does that actually look like, practically speaking, for those of us who have to do it? So, with that in mind, I want to start off with this question. How are you with going after goals? What is that process like for you?
Yeah, so this is something I had to reflect on a little bit, and this might not be a helpful or perfect answer for anyone who's listening, but I've just kind of always been wired this way to go after things that I want. And when I think about it, I actually was a relatively shy kid, like person growing up, but I had this instinct, this ambition of like, well, I want to put myself out there and I want to try something new. And I think that where it comes from is my parents 100% supported me in everything I did. They were very reluctant to let me quit something that I enjoyed, even when it got tough. They were at every practice, every band concert, every sporting event, right? And I think that that translated to confidence. So I've always felt this strong sense of hey, that's something I'm interested, that's an opportunity I want, I'm going to take it. Like I'm qualified for that. I think I can do that. And it's certainly not without self-doubt, which I'm sure I'll get an opportunity to talk about later. But it's I've just been really fortunate to have confidence and ambition, and it's served me really well. It's just forced me to stretch myself, and I'm not going to say it isn't uncomfortable a lot of the time, but I have these moments where I get fired up and I'm like, yeah, I think I can do that. And yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. It's just I think it's just kind of part of who I am.
That's wonderful. And it sounds like it was also, reinforced in this really beautiful way from your parents where the sort of the low points were normalized, where it's like this is part of the process. This is
Mhm.
going to happen and there's something on the other side of it. So, I love that you kind of got all of that early in life, and it's fun to see how that's developed now at this point in your life. So, when you think about the really big challenges, the really big obstacles, the really big opportunities that come up for you, what keeps you motivated?
Yeah, I think that some of the things that keep me motivated, again, I think I can kind of divide this a little bit personally and professionally. And personally, just as a woman who works in business, I'm really motivated to set an example for my daughter of like you can do and be anything that you want to be. This is what I've chosen, what I'm passionate about, what I've found to really enjoy over the years. But that might look different for her one day. And I think that a lot of parents or people who have any young person in their life that they want to set a good example for can relate to that. And man, it's just like, it just charges you up to think like, you know what, I'm not going to give up on this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go after the things I want. I'm going to try and find harmony and balance in it all if it's possible. So that's what really keeps me motivated personally, but professionally, I just really enjoy helping people realize their full potential. And whether that's a promotion or maybe some compensation goal that translates into being able to buy a house or something else really important in life, like paying for their kids' college education. I like being, there along the way to help people realize those goals. I get a lot out of it. I hope that the people that I work with get a lot out of it, and I just find so much fulfillment in that. It's just something I've really enjoyed no matter what I've done at Cintas, whether I've been in marketing or sales or leadership or not. My primary job in any role that I have, at least from my point of view, is to help people succeed. And that always is going to translate to company success. So it's just been a really good guiding principle that just keeps me motivated and ready for the next day and the next challenge.
Hmm. So with challenges, when those come up, especially when you've got a really big opportunity or big goal that you're going after, the challenges and obstacles do tend to come in our way. But for you, is there a specific brand of challenge that just keeps coming up over and over again, no matter what you do? Like this is your Achilles heel?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I feel like a lot of times the challenge is something internal, of you telling yourself something that may or may not be true, and you've kind of like built your own little reality of like, maybe for example, maybe you're telling yourself that I'm not ready for this next opportunity. I need to be in this role that I'm in a little bit longer. I have more to learn. But there are other people who you work alongside that don't think like that, and they go after whatever they want whenever the opportunity presents itself, rather than when they feel like they're ready. So I think that's a challenge that I personally have felt in a lot of places in my career over the past 11 years, of just telling myself, well, I have so much more to gain from staying where I'm at, but what would I gain by pushing myself to move forward a little bit quicker?
Mm, I relate to that as well. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's where this whole thing came from for me. When you do think back on the opportunities that you have taken in your life, I'm curious, historically, personally or professionally, what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken?
So, let's see, this would have been in around like 2019, so about call it 5 years ago. I was a sales manager in Milwaukee, and I was having a lot of success. I had built a great team. We were winning. It was fulfilling, but I got presented with this opportunity to move to corporate and join our marketing team. And it was kind of one of those situations where I knew in my gut, like I just have a good feeling about this. It's going to be a good path for me. I feel like I can use some skills that that I'm not using in my current role. But, I had only been in that job for maybe 2.5 years. So, the external perception was, like, why would you give up to the keys to the castle when you just built it, So I felt like it was a big donut, so to speak, that I was taking for myself. But some of the people around me questioned it. Ultimately, I could explain to people like, hey, I think this is going to be good for me, and here's why. I also had some personal motivations to get back to Ohio to be a little bit closer to some of my family that's in Ohio. So it was a personal and professional decision combined, that ended up working out, and it didn't feel like this big carpe diem, seize the day kind of moment for me at the time. But when I look back on it, man, like I was hitting a fork in the road, and I could have stayed there, and my life would be very different now if I had listen to some of the voices around me, like, why don't you stay and do this a little longer, which came from a good place, by the way. Like, that was sound advice. It's advice that I've given to people too, but I really just followed what I felt was best for me. And then in hindsight, I'm like, man, that kind of was bold, to go against, what some other people were saying. And ultimately it worked out. It put me on a path for promotions and a really diverse experience, a different dimension of my career. And I'm really happy with the decision. So I look back on it and I'm like, that was a pretty big donut, to use your terminology. So
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. And I love that you brought up this, like the resistance that you had from other people, because I think it's always important for us to remember that other people's perspectives come from their own point of view. So, like the advice they give you is automatically loaded with their life experience, not yours. So you take what you take what resonates for you, and you don't take what doesn't. And I love that you stayed with your intuition on that. And sounds like you feel good about that. It's interesting when you look back on fork in the road moments and
mhm.
you can say, yeah, that feels like that was the right path, the one that I took.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. Is there a donut that you're taking right now? Anything currently in progress for you that you can talk about?
I'm definitely starting to think about what's next for me professionally, but I'm starting to view these moves and these choices that I make in my professional life differently than I did in the past. It always felt very singular, like I'm going after this job. But now, with having a family, with being 11 years into this career, every move that I make just feels a lot more holistic, and I want it to make sense for every corner of my life. So I don't necessarily like have a specific donut, a specific thing in mind. I know, I know with clarity what I want to do next as far as my career move, but the timing of that, what it looks like, where it's at, I'm keeping myself open. I've been really careful throughout my career to not like kind of box myself into a corner where it's like, this is the only thing that's going to work for me. And if it's not this, then it's not anything. I've really enjoyed being open and letting other people help guide my career too. It's been really great for me to receive that advice and take it and put it into action. And it's worked out. But yeah, I can't say that I'm like pinpointing one specific thing that I'm like, I've got to take that. And there is something kind of freeing about that, to just like let the journey take you. Whereas every other point in my career, I've been like, I got to do this in this amount of time because I got to move up. And I've just been so like laterally motivated, if that makes sense, in kind of a corporate business environment. And now I'm really just enjoying being a student, in my current role, and learning a lot about our business, and growing as a leader. And so I'm excited when I know what that next thing is. But I'm just trying to enjoy it a little bit more while I'm in it.
Mm. Oh, this is so great to hear. And I know as you've been sharing your experiences, it does sound like one thing that really motivates you is the example that you set for others. So I wanted to give you a chance to sort of directly address that here. There may be people who are listening to this who have a donut of their own that they want to take. Maybe it's still just an idea for them. Or maybe it's something more concrete. They've started on the way towards it, but they're looking for inspiration on how to take that next step forward for them. So let's sprinkle some encouragement. And what would you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, this might be a terrible cliche, but I think it holds a lot of truth. That first step is often the hardest because, like, there's a certain level of bravery involved in I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone and I'm going to own my own space. I'm going to take this opportunity. It could be something as simple as sending an email to your boss or picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I want to be considered for this opportunity." But those split second decisions of I'm just going to be brave in this 1 second and put myself out there. That's what makes the difference between putting yourself on that path or not putting yourself on that path. And the thing that I've learned over the years is that oftentimes when you ask yourself the question, why didn't I take that step or why didn't I do that? For me personally, it was always, well, I don't want to be embarrassed or I don't want to be wrong. And newsflash, I feel a little bit of embarrassment and I'm wrong all the time. And the more you do it, the more you become comfortable with it. And I think there's something really good about that because nobody's perfect, right? And if you're just afraid of I'm going to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, or whatever else might be in your head at that moment, just do it. Like and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with what happens.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. Yeah, we don't get to have the confidence until we do the thing, right? So it's always
Exactly.
going to feel like that until you take that step. So for those who want to learn more about your journey, where can they find you?
Yeah, I would say the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. We're very active on LinkedIn at Cintas, so I encourage people to connect with me, send me a message, reach out. I really have enjoyed mentoring people throughout my career. In our women's group at Cintas, we're starting to get involved with mentoring college students as well, which is really exciting. So, it's something I get a lot of fulfillment out of. I feel like I get as much out of a mentor relationship as hopefully the mentee does from me. So I'm always encouraging people to reach out and happy to help people in any way that I can.
Wonderful. Well, everybody be sure to check out that resource. Go to Kara's LinkedIn and see what's going on there. And if you liked this interview, please feel free to like and subscribe because there's so many inspirational interviews that are still to come. But in the meantime, Kara, thank you so much for taking some time for chatting about taking the donut and going after the things you want and giving us some insight into what that really looks like for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, everybody, you know what to do. Get inspiration and get donuts. Bye.